So you don't believe that citizens in a democracy have a right to set their own immigration policies?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Again, now, of course, that and $5 will get you a Starbucks coffee. I'm not so. I mean, I realize the way to getting better immigration policy is to win people over. But yeah, like if I actually were on the Supreme Court, for example, and I could just strike down U.S. immigration law, I totally would.
But obviously, it couldn't because it's the Congress that passed it, and it's
Well, I
perfectly
mean,
constitutional. There's no reason for the
you
Supreme
know,
Court to do that. We don't have a
I would just
completely.
say, look, show me the part in the Constitution that says you can keep out immigrants. It says Congress can establish a naturalization law. There's nothing in there about preventing immigration. So I'd say no, you can't do it. And if you want to do it, get an amendment.
Well, okay. I'm glad we're establishing just quite how in outer space you are on these topics. But the idea that democratic countries should not be able to be accountable to their own citizens, and that citizens cannot actually decide their own immigration policies, is deeply anti-democratic.
Look,
Who
look,
makes these
look what I'm
decisions?
saying. Like,
You would, right?
almost everyone is anti-democratic in this sense. Almost everyone thinks that there's some, not only foreign policies, domestic policies that majorities shouldn't be allowed to vote for. Why not one more?
Because it's the basic description and definition of their own political entity. Without that definition, it doesn't exist. There's
Look,
no one to invite people to. It is completely gone. This is not. It's not some. It's without, as Trump famously put it, without a border, you don't have a country.
look, the U.S. had nearly open borders until 1924. Was it a country back then?
Well, it wasn't quite. It was emerging as one. I mean, it was still
So the
a
U.S.
lot
and the
vast
U.S.
amounts
and
of it
the
were
U.S. in
wilderness.
1910 is not a country
Well,
because they have
it's
open
certainly not
borders.
like almost any other country
Yeah,
in the West at that point. There's
yeah.
still vast amounts to be discovered. It's a
In,
huge
in
continent.
1910,
There's
it was
still a lot.
Alaska. Maybe
There's
some
a
of it in
huge
Alaska.
amount. There's a huge amount.
Yeah.
But anyway, obviously America was an exception to the rule because it was this place for people to come and make their
All right.
fortunes, as it
So
were.
why can't we be an exception again and still be a nation state? I don't see why not.
Well, we can't because of the volume that we're talking about, the numbers that could feasibly be considered, the ease of transportation, and the do you have? I mean, again, there seems to be no interest in forging anything like a common nationality, a common culture. What makes you an American? What makes you different than a Mexican?
Yeah. So again, what I would say is, I mean, I think I'm a bigger fan of American culture than most people say they are fans. I say, look, there are people all over the world who want to be part of our culture. They already like us a lot, and I would like to let them be part of it. And I think that our culture is so great that in a free competition, we're going to win. Doesn't mean that we won't learn a bunch of things from other countries in the process. We're going to go and get a much more varied cuisine, for example, right? But still, I'd say, so like, way that I put it, they have a post called Western Culture, Western Civilization is a Hardy Weed. They say, look, if you're someone who thinks that Western culture is going to collapse if we go and let in another 100 million immigrants, you're not that big of a fan of it. You think that it's so fragile that you've got to be worrying about it collapsing. Look, I say, look, I think it's so sturdy, it's so strong. Like the real story is that countries all over the world are trying to go and keep Western and American culture out because they know that they're likely to lose in their own countries if they allow free competition, and immigration is basically a way of getting around those restrictions. So, like, how well would the theocrats of Iran be doing if young people could just leave? Like the young people there, I think would, well, like, maybe not quite a majority, but a very large minority would just love to go and move to the West and just say goodbye to the theocracy of Iran forever.